It's Thibeault and Nibble. But anyway, thank you for being here today, and thank you for staying, by the way. I know we're probably all a little tired. If you want to stand up and stretch a little bit, I'd let you do that to wake up a little bit. But no, it's an honor to be here. I am privileged to bring 4 of our colleagues from Nibble, our tech team from Austin, Texas, by the way, and our communication director from Sacramento. Nibble is a California-based company that was launched in Boston as a weekly meal subscription service. At that time, it was completely plant-based, and our name was different. We were called Kombu back then. That business started 10 years ago this month. So we're 10 years old. We made it this far. We've iterated through several different kinds of businesses in that time. We ran a restaurant inside the Four Seasons for 2014 and 15, and in San Francisco. And we had the opportunity in 2015 to do a pivot away from traditional retail food service and retail restaurant work to go into the corporate catering space. And if you know anything about San Francisco or California in general, you know the work culture in the office buildings and in the office parks is very different than the rest of the country, in the sense that beyond coffee, beyond snacks, a warm breakfast and a warm lunch is served almost every day in a lot of these companies. Even if you're only 30 or 40 people, it's not just Google, it's not just Facebook or Apple or Amazon. These are perks and part of everyday life in a typical San Francisco office and in LA. We did that pivot in 2015. We started with working with food brokers and meal brokers, and these are companies that would have relationships with these companies that are feeding food every day, and they would line up a different restaurant every single day. And you'd have a different genre. One day you'd have barbecue. One day you'd have Vietnamese food. The next day you'd have French or Italian, and so on and so on. So to enter this space, we had to be very clever about the variety of the menus that we offer. We couldn't compete in that space with just 1 or 2 or 3 menu themes. We literally had to launch with 40 different menu themes. Each menu theme would have about 8 or 9 different ingredients in it, 3 proteins, 1 or 2 vegetables, a starch, maybe a soup and a salad bar, and every day it had to be different. Our first direct client said, we do lunch and we do dinner every day, and in a 30-day period, we don't want you repeating your menus. So imagine, and this was 350 people, imagine throwing 40 weddings a month, 2 a day at this one client. That's essentially what we were doing for 350 people. So we'll come back to exactly how we did that in a second. I first want to give a little bit more about my personal background. I started doing software development and software support going back to 1990. I've personally oversaw or personally built with my own hands about 200 different applications. And so when we entered this space of doing corporate food service in a very competitive market, I knew the only way that we could offer consistency and a quality experience day after day after day is to do a serious tech platform underneath it all. So anyways, that's what started our journey. Some of the stuff that we're going to look at today is functions and components of this application that we built. We are not unique. There's a lot of companies who are doing things like this. We think we've kind of gone ahead of the pack, considerably ahead of the pack. And later at the end of the presentation, I'm going to tell you some exciting stuff about our Mise, by the way, Mise en Place. We are naming the software that we use every day in our business Mise, and we're going to be making it available later this year, commercially available to any other food service, farm, et cetera, in California or around the world. It's going to be a SaaS business. So there's our markets. There's how we spell Nibble. It's not spelled properly, but it's our brand, N-I-B-L-L, and Mise. Over the course of our different iterations, we've served over 5 million meals, and a lot of them have been delivered direct to consumer. Most have been in a corporate setting, as I mentioned before. Just going up to 30,000 feet, 2021 was the second year of the pandemic. A lot of local food businesses were shut down, or some permanently. But there was an enormous amount of capital, venture capital, that entered the food space. Not only food tech, but actually food like Impossible Burgers getting $500 million in funding, and many, many other companies. If you break it down to a daily amount, that means $112 million was flowing into food every single day, 365 days a year in 2021. There's an enormous sea change going on right now in how we, especially in this society, eat our food. We are moving away from, unfortunately, farm access from there to grocery stores. Now we want food to come to us, either in a already processed and cooked way or in a heat and serve kind of way. This is very tricky, very touchy, by the way. How do I go back? Sorry. These are just some of the companies that were funded in 2021. One of the most stark differences of how we consume our food is actually how do we get it to our house. I don't know how many people in here have Instacart or some kind of delivery for groceries. Costco, right? Grocery stores right now are empty. They used to have people going up and down the aisle, browsing, looking at things on store shelves, and now we get online and we browse what's online and we buy just what's available for us. It's a convenience play more than anything else, but it's a big change away from how we consume our food. We just talked about QR codes. We're going to get into exactly how do we use QR codes. So Nibble today, we work with Netflix, we work with the Golden State Warriors, we work with Salesforce, we work with some of the name brands, the top companies of sports and tech in California. And some of the reason that we get hired, most of it hopefully, is the flavors of our food. We're a culinary first company, tech second company. My wife and business partner, Kristen, she's not here today, but she founded this company right before entering Le Cordon Bleu. She won a National Cooking Award with a vegan dish, vegan sweetbreads, up in Napa in 2013. And that kind of put us on the map in Boston. But we're a culinary company first, but we realized with tech, we have to be very innovative and get our tech into the hands of our clients. And what does that mean? Well, think about the example I gave a few minutes ago. That company that was doing lunch and dinner every day for their employees, a different menu every day, so that's 40 menus in a month. Well, what we started to do was email on Thursdays, here's a list of what's coming next week. It was a very long, boring email. Right after that, we created a portal, and that portal allowed employees to come into our Mies system that had all of our recipes, all of our menus, and the calendar of what menu was going to your company on a given day. And you could pull that up and look at every single dish, look at the ingredients, look at the nutritional content, and you could actually rate it as well. So it provided for us a window into how our food was being received on site at all of these companies. And if you had, say, a Netflix account, you would register with Keven at Netflix and you would see all of Netflix's menus available for that month, and you could rate them. Well, that, again, going back to what Nicole was saying, do we require customers to move toward us, to give us information, or do we go to them? Well, we recently, as of 30 days ago, released our own QR code that's specific and it stays with each client. So for example, Netflix has its own menu QR code, and all you have to do is save that on your phone or bookmark it, and you will be able to, without going into the portal, without looking for that email, you'll be able to just pop up in your phone, open that QR code, and see what's happening on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on, and provide live feedback to us. So we're going really to the end we're not going to the metaverse just yet, but we are going right to the end of what we think we can do right now with regard to tech. One of the integrations, Mies has really helped us pivot and innovate in enormous ways, and just like many companies did in the last couple years, we had to pivot in the pandemic to become a packaged meals service. Those buffet lunches that I was talking about earlier, they're all well and good, but Governor Newsom and all of the governors really had a stay-at-home order in March of 2015. We had a D-Day event in our business. We were doing about $1 million a month in revenue, and March 15th, everybody decided to work from home. There was a safer at-home order, and we literally lost all of our sales overnight. Our April sales were $45,000. Our March sales were $1 million. So what we did is reboot the business that we started in 2012, which was a meal subscription service that was food delivered right to your home. 5 meals, a salad, and a soup. We rebooted that business and repivoted all of the corporate infrastructure that we had, thankfully enabled by our tech, to use all the same trucks, all the same chefs, all the same recipes, repackaged and reformulated into a packaged meal format from buffet. And our very first home delivery was March 23rd. We shut down our corporate service on March 15th, and our very first home delivery, which we're still doing today, was on March 23rd. We would have never been able to do that without some serious tech behind us, without having all of our menus and recipes online and available. What you're looking at here is an interesting integration with the FDC database, which is maintained by the USDA, and they maintain nutritional information about every grocery store product and every raw ingredient that you can get in the United States. And what that means is, if we have a dish, for example, that has 3 ounces of chicken, well, the chicken contributes to how much protein there is and how much fat and so on. And we actually build nutritional panels on the fly, live, based on the recipes of all of our dishes. The traditional approach, of course, is to build your product, send it for analysis, and then take your analysis back to the label printer and build a label. We can do all of that in seconds. And this is a digital transformation that we do, but it's available to any food business that wants to do it. And as we get more into more technically sophisticated and picky consumers, people who want this information for health reasons, all of us have the ability to go to label-making software companies out there and put in an ingredient and get this information out, save that, and use that in your service. The difference is, we had to do this in order to survive. We had to make that pivot to a direct-to-consumer model in March of 2020 because there was no more buffet catering. So we instantly had to become a packaged meal company overnight. What that did is it enabled us to go and pitch business to the county of San Bernardino, the largest county in the whole country, geographically. It goes all the way from LA to the Arizona border, and it's a very dispersed population. We were doing senior citizen meal delivery in July of 2020, just a few months after we shut down, to the tune of almost $500,000 a month in business. For senior citizens who were kind of trapped in their home, couldn't leave the house for safety reasons, and couldn't have helpers come into their house. So we were doing contact-free senior citizen meal delivery using this same technology here. And that digital transformation wasn't just something nice to have, it was actually what these seniors needed to know so that they could eat and they could understand the sugar levels and the protein levels and so on. We wouldn't have got that business if we didn't have something similar to this. So what I'm getting at here is that we can't look at digital transformation as a convenience. We have to look at it as a means of survival. When winter comes and disaster strikes, if you don't have tech enabling you to pivot, to open to new lines of business, to new markets, and maybe change your product or open new products, if you don't have that tech underneath to enable you, you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to slow down at best, and maybe it could be disastrous to your business. A couple months later, September, LA County started to allow TV and film production to resume. And Hollywood, as you know, with Netflix and everything, it's going through a golden era right now. There's so much production. There's so many TV shows. There's so many movies that are going on right now. For them to have everything brought to a screeching halt, that's one business that you can't take virtual. You have to be all under one roof at a set doing the filming and the production together. We worked with Dancing with the Stars in September of 2020, and we took this same product from the direct-to-consumer model, from the senior citizen meal delivery, into the Hollywood TV and film industry. So we were competing against Wolfgang Puck and some very, very big, well-established, decades-old food service companies. And the reason we were winning these contracts is they didn't have the ability to pivot and create a sealed, safety-sealed, packaged meal in the kitchen that was brought on site and delivered to the crew in a contact-free way like we did. So we went from March to September, and we had 2 lines of revenue before. We had pro sports and tech, and we were able to use our technology and our transformation away from traditional catering to packaged meals to open up 3 new lines of business: direct-to-consumer, Hollywood TV film production, and senior citizen meal delivery. We still have all but the senior citizen meal delivery. The FEMA funding subsidies went away, so we don't do that today, but now we are a more stable, more diverse company than we ever were before. And we're seeing tech roaring back, like our Oakland kitchen last Friday. Within one 24-hour period, we had a 200% increase in our monthly sales. And these companies that are able to work virtually, they'll probably all work virtually forever. It's just a cost savings, it's a quality of life thing. But there are certain things that need to be done where there's mentoring, collaboration, creativity. When you're creating content, those kinds of companies can't be in a virtual world. They have to have people in an office with community dining programs that build culture, health, wellness, and so on. And so we're seeing a big spike, a huge spike right now as we speak. We're seeing a lot of our old companies come back. By the way, pre-COVID, we were doing 1 in 10 unicorn companies in the United States. We were doing 20 companies that were billion-dollar valuation companies. We were doing their food. And I was really proud of that. Of course, now there's many, many more unicorns out there, but we were ranked by Inc. magazine as the fastest growing food company in California and the 171st fastest growing company in California, which is a big accomplishment. Again, we could have never done that with the tech. On a normal day, we would pump out about 3,000 meals going to 27 different locations just in the Bay Area, and we were doing about half of that in LA. Again, all enabled by tech. So we have this technology in development. We use it every day. It's unfair to call it in beta mode, but we are commercializing this software. We are going to make it available to larger food service companies who are trying to do this kind of pivot to add new lines of revenue. We are going to use a subscription model, and we see this in 2 big phases. There was a panel up here earlier this morning, and there was a lot of energy around, we just can't connect. We can't connect cherry pickers with cherry farmers. And we see that same need for a marketplace being supported by a tool like Mies. And so we see 2 phases of development for me. Phase one, just allow any restaurant and caterer who wants to expand their lines of revenue, build strength in their business, to get in there, load their recipes in, or license hours, whatever they want to do, integrate it to QuickBooks, integrate it to Google, MailChimp, a delivery platform like Toucan, use it in their businesses, but after critical mass, then get suppliers, wholesale suppliers, software vendors, chefs, mixologists, people who serve the restaurant and the food industry, the catering industry. Have this be a marketplace for wholesale food service and in the food and beverage industry. That doesn't exist. You have portals, you don't have anything like this. So what we're thinking is Mies is going to become the Amazon and Indeed for food service, specifically dedicated to food service. So farmers who are trying to get their product out, they can market, within a 50-mile radius or 100-mile radius to restaurants who strive to use local vendors. Likewise, restaurants can say, who can give me my fruit and vegetables that I don't have to go through my wholesaler. Maybe I want to buy direct from the farm. Or maybe there's a farm that says, I want to have a weekly meal subscription, but it's not meals, maybe it's milk, my cream, my cheese. And I want to be able to deliver to my customers, just like Nicole was saying, bringing your product out there. How in the heck would they know how to do that unless they had this kind of software that would allow them to load their customer list, do repeat, recurring subscriptions, look at the drivers that you have, assign trucks, and get all of the technology that Amazon uses, that Lyft uses, et cetera, into their hands. All right. And with that, I'll end my speech. Thank you. It's been an honor to be here, and I'll take questions now. Yes, sir.
That's pretty awesome. 15 to 21, March 15th to the 21st, that's American ingenuity.
Well,
Great example.
We didn't have a safety net.
I mean, that's part of the great thing. Americans a lot of times build the parachute while they're falling. And anyways, I just want to say that's impressive.
Thank you
Just
very much.
a few days from zero to business again.
A lot of the people in this room were responsible. They were helping us build. We used WooCommerce, by the way, in the original. We're phasing that out, and we're going to be competing with HelloFresh and Freshly with a nationally available meal subscription later this year. So, and these guys are building it. So they deserve a hand as well. You guys help really pivot the business, open new lines of revenue. It's, I just really want to stress, it's not about just being cool and doing the most digital thing you can just because, that's what everyone else is doing and that these tools are available and they're faster and cheaper and so on. It literally can be the difference between life or death for business. If you are able to expand and use that kitchen, for example, when it's dark, a lot of restaurants, their kitchens are dark 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. They're not doing anything. But what if you could put another $3,000 or $4,000 a day into that restaurant's top line revenue and have chefs in there starting at 5 in the morning like ours do. Actually, they start more like 4. And push out those meals. They don't require a hostess, assistant hostess, bartender, bar back, dishwasher. Those are just meals that are going out into office catering. So.
I'm going to throw a beach ball over for you. So now that you have all of the offices going virtual, what is your plan to attack that with so many offices having people work from home but still might want to provide food?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Thank you. Thank you for that, Jake. There's a driverless car company owned by Google, Waymo, who wanted us to propose to them we have employees that will forever work from home. They'll never be part of the office. They won't come in once a week. They will forever be from home. Because of the nature of bundling meals together, between $14 and $18 a meal, doing a 5-pack that gets delivered to the employee's home in the markets that we serve or shipped nationally, the cost is almost the same to feed employees at home as it is in the office. It's very close. It's very, very close. And it really depends on where those employees live. If they live in very difficult, hard to ship to areas like Alabama and stuff they're not near a big metro area, their cost of shipping goes a little bit higher. Many of the almost all of the companies that we see are not making it a requirement to come back to work. So what they're doing is they're saying, you come in 1 or 2 days a week, you got to show your face in the office. But we do have solutions for that as well. By the way, before I forget, I have 4 more minutes. I wanted to let everybody in this room know I'm going to do a private reception here in the hotel up on the 30th floor in a suite. For anybody who wants to talk more about Mies, and maybe you or someone you know wants to have Mies, we're signing up charter members here at the show. And I'll be happy to walk you through what that is. If you know a caterer, restaurant, a supplier who might be interested, I'd be happy to connect with you personally. We are onboarding commercial users of Mies this year. So, yes, sir.
Do you foresee Mies interacting with ghost kitchens throughout the nation so that way the like meal that you're serving to the production crew in Hollywood would be able to be delivered in Charlotte at a similar food production as opposed to shipping it, being able to use the tech and work through a ghost kitchen?
I absolutely think that's the future, yes.
Is that more the direction, do you see, or no?
It really is too soon to tell because part of being able to do this business is in all of the 1,000 little hacks of when do you heat something up, when do you cool it down. So training that other kitchen, it's very, very different than restaurant food. Restaurant menus are meant to be cooked and eaten immediately. It's a la minute cooking, and it's in very small portions. We're cooking for hundreds or thousands of people a day out of one kitchen. We're doing the same menu to multiple locations. It's a very different product. So to get a ghost kitchen in a different market who uses your software, your branding, and so on, they still have to go through the proper process on how to deliver meals at scale. Yeah, there's some training involved. We imagine there'll be something like a Nibble University, just like this McDonald's University. We go and open up another kitchen that we might share with someone else. We hire chefs there. They come and work in LA for a month, right alongside, elbow to elbow with our chefs. Then our chefs go back into their market, say Atlanta, Miami, for example. They go back into that market, set up the vendor relationships, set up all the processes, make sure they have the right vans, the right carts, all of the stuff that makes what we do good, makes us good at it. We would make sure that they had the ability to do that. But yes, for sure, we're not talking about shipping meals at scale. That direct-to-consumer model is thriving today and growing, but it's not a huge part of our business. It was a stepping stone. Had we not done a direct-to-consumer on March 23rd, we would never have set ourselves up to be awarded another contract, which turned into almost $6 million of business, senior citizens meal delivery. That set us up to do Hollywood. And so what I'm saying is the tech is an enabler. You still got to have hustle and go sell, and you got to train your chefs how to do everything. But the tech underneath was the enabler to open the doors for us to go get that business. Yes, sir. Ali.
I think what you're doing here is a great, job. And what I see here is that Compass Group went from $23 billion during the pandemic to $7 billion overnight. And the pandemic changed corporate dining forever. It's not going back to what it was. And it was subsidized by millions. Google, for example, is about $20 million a year, as you know.
Yeah, right.
So what you did is you're helping the industry change. I believe that the industry in the future for on-site dining is going to turn into Amazon on the go. But what you're doing is absolutely wonderful, very innovative, and it's in the right direction, and it's what you're going to save the industry millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, we think we're on the right track, and we have a lot of good people who are working hard to kind of bring the capabilities that we've developed to the rest of the world. And I honestly think you have to be just like a restaurant. If you're still standing today, if you're still alive, and still standing, it's because you had hustle and you decided to get food outside the four walls of your restaurant. You had to do it to survive. But other businesses are just the same way. If you're a wedding caterer and you're busy on the weekends, what are you doing Monday through Friday? That kitchen's not leveraged. Why not do a weekly meal subscription service that's direct to consumer, that's not frozen, it's fresh? You know, if you have the mentality to leverage beyond what got you to the party today, is probably not going to work forever or very long going forward. You have to have multiple lines of revenue and be nimble. Yeah, and we want to help enable that, by the way. I should also say that we donate and never stop donating meals through, a minute over my time, through the pandemic. We've worked with World Central Kitchen. We've done domestic abuse shelters, homeless shelters, and so on. We use the same packaged meal for those applications. The Golden State Warriors use us. I often sell and I say, you know, on any given day, that same salmon dish, Steph Curry might have eaten it, a tech wizard might have eaten it, and maybe a disadvantaged family might have eaten it. We cook the same food that goes to all different areas of society. It's just part of our mission. It's baked into what we do, by the way. Awesome. Thank you very much.